Thank you very much for joining us here on Inside Government.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Very good. First of all, congratulations for winning the top MICE exhibition as well as tourism center in Africa in 2019.
Thank you.
How will all these, help you in your endeavors going forward?
I think getting international acclaim is huge. 45 years, KICC has finally done it. So it's Africa's leading business meetings for conferencing venue. And as we're saying, that is something we're able to reposition ourselves. Not that we haven't already started to do that. It's part of our rollout program and project and what we've been doing for 2018, 2019, and continuing on for 2019, 2020. But it's huge. It's a fantastic platform. Of course, recognition is always something good that you can always be able to do. And for a whole year, we get to toot our horns regarding that. I think the biggest achievement for that is, it's given morale, a lot more morale to the staff. And also Durban Convention Center, held it for 9 years.
Tell me this. I mean, you faced very strong, competition from Durban International Convention Center, Cape Town, and even our neighbors here, Kigali. What made KICC tick?
I think what it was obviously it's the voting, but then even apart from that, you get shortlisted again after the voting, and then it's up for them to decide. They do a vigorous background checks, they check and see how far we've been moving as a center. And I think it's what everybody's been seeing. It's no secret. The sleeping giant is awake, KICC. The last 3.5 years, we've been able to turn things around. It's become a lot more in everybody's peripheral. Also in terms of events that we do here, not only exhibitions and government events. We're back to back with outdoor events and also just Kenyans visiting. And that's the purpose of this. This is an iconic building. It's for everybody. And it should be enjoyed by everybody.
It is easier to become number one, but always very hard to remain number one. So how are you going to ensure that you remain at the top going forward?
I think that's a question a lot of people are asking. We already know what we're going to be doing. Yes, you can be number one, but as much as that is, we also are working strategically. So one of the things that we're also even doing is that as much as they're competitors, they're also friends and allies. So in terms of with Kigali, I've already started working heavily with the partners on that side, with the Convention Center and also the Convention Bureau. Again, looking out to Tanzania as well to help with that. And also again for Africa as a region. Yes, we can be the leading, but again, everybody's taken it at one point in time. But for me, it's about forward thinking, it's about the vision that we have, and it's about strengthening East Africa. So again, the next few months we'll also see us working closely together. So again, you're keeping it in the region. Again, as you know, for a very long time, we've had the visa, that if you come into Kenya, you can also visit some of the other East African countries. So why not use that as conferencing? So those are the strategic partnerships that we're trying to solidify and work on.
You have been around for 45 years, and we now have seen new and modern, conference centers, coming around. And you're talking about Kigali Convention Center, which is a new kid on the blocks. How are you positioning yourself, to ensure that going forward you remain competitive and relevant in this industry?
Of course, with that, the two key things is obviously expansion and a convention bureau. All that we can do, all that I can do as a CEO of KICC is put in the request and leave it up to my parent ministry to fight that fight. So I'm very confident that the minister is able to do that, and he has been doing that. And that's what we need. In order to stay relevant, we are at capacity. We are full. We are having to always put up tents on the lawns. So we're looking at more permanent structures with that, and everything in lining with green conferencing as well. So in terms of that, like I said, all it is about putting the request in and hoping that it gets pushed.
Tell me this, I mean, the conference center, has been up for major innovations, for quite a long time, and this has not managed to come through. How is this affecting your business?
I believe in terms of affecting the business, it is, well, I mean, it's just potential business. Actual business, it's not affecting because we are utilizing a large percentage of our space here. And again, even trying to look at other things where we have, an auditorium, a mini capacity that can hold which is about theatre style of about 100 people. Normally we used to do press briefings there. Now obviously gone are the days where, a lot of the press briefings either take place in other people's ministries so it's not utilized every day as it was maybe 10 years ago. So why not turn it into a mini cinema? That's something as well. So we're looking at new ideas. But in terms of losing revenue, it's potential. Potential revenue is what I'd like to call it, because it's never yours unless you have it. So we use what we've got. We've been able to really turn that around. Utilization of space, also bringing in new events here, a lot more comedy shows, a lot more, and the arts.
With a turnover of about 2 billion shillings every year, one might wonder, I mean, what is so hard about raising 0.8 billion shillings to renovate KICC and make it more modern and even add more facilities?
Well, I mean, there's operational costs, obviously. So in terms of, like I said, we're a tenant, we're a landlord, we have tenancy, we have events. But again, it's like with any project. If you're looking at doing a major overhaul, like we said, if we are making money, we're happy to pay it back. But it's a grant that we're looking for. Like you said, this is 45 years. This structure has done Kenya proud, and it still will continue to do that, just by the way it was built. But of course, it's the modern things. It's like a record player wanting to work with wireless headphones and your phone. They both play music, but one is more with the times of today. So that's what it is that we're looking for. It's a facelift of the old building, and also creating more space. More space means more revenue. More revenue means also more delegates. It also means with the more revenue, we're also able to then expand. Of course, we'd want to see a KICC in Mombasa.
Yeah, so very well. I mean, I want to press the pause button and rewind back to more than 40 years where another plan was floated, to try and put up a twin tower KICC just right next to KICC. And we all know, the political intrigues, that hampered the whole mission. Are we likely to see another 40 years of waiting?
I mean, I hope not. I don't think so. We have a very capable government, and it's not a one person or one woman show, one man show, in regards to that. So, like I said, it's an agenda. It's like I said, there's no hidden motive here. It's my mandate is to push business events, conferencing, and also again the delegate experience, the business tourist. So it's a broad one. So in terms of, are we going to wait another 40 years? I don't think so. I think we've come pretty far anyway with that. So it's just, I think, about getting everybody around a table, and people know what's needed. It's the same thing as, what happens when we start having too many cars on the road. We need to then start looking at our infrastructure. We need to start looking at, how do we widen or expand our roads to dual carriageways or 4 lanes or anything like that. It's the same with that here. 45 years, this place has done us justice. It's made Kenya proud. So let's work together. And like I said, this was here 4 years before I was even conceived. And this is going to be here long after.
Long after.
I've concluded my positioning or sitting here as CEO, and even on this earth. So, like I said, for me, my only thing is to leave KICC better than I found it, and that's what you hope that everybody else does when they're custodians.
How much will the refurbishment and expansion of KICC cost the taxpayers in your own estimations?
Regarding what? Also, I think also, we don't get money from the government. We are self-sufficient.
Well, this is a public institution, right?
It's a public institution, yes.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is, when you're talking about public funds, like you just said, we don't get money from the Exchequer unless it's a special project. Year in, year out, we are mandated to generate revenue. And in the past, it's not been a huge cash cow, but it's the last couple of years, putting all the structures and everything back into place, we've been able to do that. However, a major project like the one that we're looking at, the same as that was floated 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, and also at the beginning when this was built, you are going to need help from government. So in terms of that, that is where government would come in for that. And if it's reallocation from funds from the ministry or if it's directly from Treasury, again, I'm not the cabinet secretary, so I cannot answer that. It's for them to decide, letting us know how much budget we have. It's a child requesting that they need money for school books to better their education. They don't ask how much they need. It is the parents to do the homework to find out and give us that.
From where you sit or you stand, I'm sure you're not just looking for a black figure, a definite figure. You as KICC must be in a position to say, yes, from our end, we want to spend this much, and this is the amount of money that we would want the National Treasury or the parent ministry to support us.
I think, yes, you would ask for that. In terms of doing your homework, doing your research, again, a lot of it is we've got public works. They're the ones, the government body, who actually handle government projects on a large scale. They have to be included. With that, I could say I want a glass building, but how thick type of glass do I want? What is the structure going to look like? How much square footage of cement or steel or structure am I going to need? So it's a group effort with that. In terms of how much, like I said, it's been grossly inflated, but that's
from how much to how much?
That's media for you. If like I said, the figures, it's dependent on what the structure is. Is it a 20,000? Is it a 10,000? With that, so
have we settled on one?
To be very honest, there may be a figure, but
what figure are you looking at? As KICC.
But even looking at a figure with that, like I said, that needs to come from the parent ministry. With that, a lot has been said in the press.
Well, of course, it has to be from KICC to the ministry, and then the ministry can push it, right?
Yes.
It's not supposed to be the other way around. It's supposed to be bottom up. So from the bottom, what are you pushing for?
I would say around 800.
800, that is 0.8 billion shillings.
If you look at it like that.
Well, it's 800 million shillings. So out of the
How much did Kigali cost? 46 billion.
Well, yeah, putting it all
for a 5,000 capacity space.
Yeah.
So I think economically, where I sit as 800 million, I think we're doing a fantastic job. It's under the billion shilling mark for such a huge structure. And like I said, Kigali was 46 for 1/5 of what we're wanting to build.
Why does Parliament feel that this figure is on the higher side? Is it that they're not seeing the design from how you're seeing it, or what are the intrigues here?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, when during the supplementary budget, the Public Investment Committee said that to spend 0.8 billion shillings.
He didn't say that.
What did they say?
If you read the paper,
No, I did not read the paper.
A different figure has been stated, almost double the amount.
I'm not quoting the.
I'm saying, but even with that, so there's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of second guessing, a lot of inflation of costs. That's why, like I said, it's you know, come get the facts first, and then we can move on. You know.
Well, you have given us the fact.
Yes.
That is 0.8 billion shillings. That's a figure I had as well.
Yes.
And Parliament.
That's not what Parliament had. So, like I said, I cannot speak for Parliament. That is my ministry. And like I said, it's not a us against them type of thing. We're all in government. We're all in the same government. We're all working for the betterment of Kenya, I believe. And that's what anyone I've interacted with in Parliament, anyone I've interacted with in my ministry, anyone I've interacted with any arms of government so far are here to move Kenya forward.
This is a very interesting, twist of event, because one wonders, why would Parliament, have different figures, from the official figures, yet you would expect them to rely from the Minister of Tourism, to get the correct figures. So what was the mix-up?
I don't think there was.
Well, you're saying they had the wrong figures.
No, you indicated to an article, and I corrected you about that figure being wrong. So I don't think it's got anything to do with Parliament. I think it's got to do with reporting of that particular paper.
I'm not actually quoting any paper.
Yeah.
I do not actually know any paper.
With that, so.
Because we, as KBC, we verify our own information. We do not rely on third party, for our information. And so this is what I'm asking. You also said that they were relying on wrong figures, right?
It was a wrong figure put into the paper, is all that I can say. Now, where they got the figure from, I'm not sure.
Very well. So have you managed to put out the right figure to Parliament?
It's not my job to do that. Like
Well,
I said, I don't interact with
collectively,
Parliament.
the
It is
Ministry of Tourism.
So you should have asked that question when you had Mr. Honorable C.S. Bilala over here. So like I said, and that's the thing, you work hard. You work tirelessly to move an organization. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, KICC was a very different organization. But no one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about the changes that have happened, the lives we have changed, the actual exposure in international media that we have gotten. But instead, we're fixated on whether or not a figure has gotten to Parliament correctly. So, there's nothing. You can work day in and day out, but it's what sells.
Definitely, the fact that, KICC, the face of KICC has been transformed.
We've not spoken about that. We've been
cannot be
talking
gainsaid.
about...
Cannot be gainsaid, definitely. Anyone who ever walked through the gates of KICC 10, 7 years ago, if they walk today, they would definitely see a lot of changes.
Well, why are we not talking about that?
That's why we are coming up next.
All right.
Now, let's talk about, the changing phase of KICC. How have you managed, and we know for sure that during a bygone era, KICC you could not divorce KICC with a certain political party. How have we managed, to wrap that image and give KICC a new face?
I think it's personal. I think it's everybody. We've had different CEOs. We've had different MDs here at KICC. KICC has been an iconic building. It's been a venue. It's been something to somebody or to everybody. But in answering your question, how have you been able to shake it off? I can only speak for myself. I think also it is largely to do with looking at a product and having to change it for the better. Now, like I said, this is what I do. I market, I sell, I push, and I've always loved tourism. I've always loved Kenya. Kenya is, and it's not just because I'm Kenyan. We have a fantastic product. We are the only city in the world that has a national park. We are a country that has anywhere from mountains, snow-capped mountains, all the way down to crystal blue water and white sand, and forests and everything in between. And we have a growing economy at a huge rate. And it's no secret that you go anywhere in the hospitality business outside of Kenya, 80% of the time, you're going to find a Kenyan. So as the people of Kenya, we are also very gifted in whatever we do. We leave people wanting more as a country and as a people. So in terms of here as KICC, KICC is very special. It's an iconic building. It's not just a venue, a conferencing venue. It is our Big Ben. It is our Eiffel Tower. It is our Statue of Liberty.
Yep.
And it is Kenya's face. It is Kenya's iconicness. And with that, so in terms of being able to change it around, I think it's having to take it extremely seriously. You know, we had the Samsung sign up here when I first got here. It was taken away from the architecture. We were known as not KICC, we were known as the Samsung building. Now, no offense to Samsung, that's great, but you would never see that on any other iconic building globally. So those are the changes we tried to do. But then again, like you said, people had it in their mind, you know, they thought, oh, it's a bit gloomy, what actually goes on there. If it's Sirikali, you don't have anything to do with government, let's not even go in there. But it's demystifying that. I think it's just having the willpower, the strength to actually change that. That was all that was needed with KICC. We had that before, you know. Before the days of mobile phones or anything like that, it was, let's meet at KICC. And that's what we're doing, bringing that back. But again, for anybody, if you look at a business person, they can come and hold their meetings or AGMs here. If you look at somebody in government, they can do the same. They can hold their bilaterals. They can have office space here. If you look at a university student, they can come here and sit outside in our grounds by the fountains, have something to eat and have some downtime. On the weekends, families can come here. What's our culture? What's our heritage? Yep. We start here.
I mean, KICC cannot just play this mice business role alone. It also needs, you know, supporting infrastructure, and I'm talking about security. I'm talking about roads, you know, the sewer system, and so much. And we know for sure that the city of Nairobi has become so clogged up with traffic jam and pollution. How is this likely to impact your image if not addressed in the future?
My image or the whole city's image? You've got hotels that are in the same pool.
KICC.
You've got people going to work every day in the same business. So the only thing that I can say is, you know, we all hold a piece to the bigger picture. I hold the piece along with many other people for the conferencing or the business events facility in terms of infrastructure, in terms of logistics, in terms of all of that. They're capable people. If I do what I'm doing and everybody else does what they're doing, we grow as a country. We grow as a city. So yes, I mean every city has its challenges, but that's why you elect key people for those roles to hopefully address them. So like I said, for me, I know what I need to do, and that's to push business events, book meetings, and showcase Kenya as a delegate experience.
Tell me this. I mean, there has been plans, you know, to set up another conference center around Bomas of Kenya, and this has been going on for many years, were it not for funding issues. And also put another, the Mombasa International Convention Center. Do you see this as a positive step as a KICC, or you think it's a threat to your business?
Of course it's not a threat. How is it a threat?
Well, you're going to lose business to Bomas once it comes into...
I'm not going to lose business. Actually, the way you look at it, it will actually be strengthening. I'm full, you know. If other venues can come up, you know, a lot of hotels are now converting their old ballrooms into meeting spaces. You know, we're not the only player here.
But you're the biggest.
We're the biggest, But again, we're not the only one. So again, you know, when people are saying it's, I think we need to come away from competitiveness and it's actually inclusiveness. So if bombers are going to build something, I say fantastic and let's get going with it. If hotels are going to be, most of the hotels that are springing up now are actually building adjacent or conventional meeting rooms as part of their structure. And to me, it's a win-win for Kenya. You know, it's the more meetings you can hold here, the more events you can hold here. It's not a threat, it's an asset. It's an asset to the country. It's pumping in more money to the economic stability of the country. So if Mombasa, like I said, that's the dream, is to open up another KICC in Mombasa. It's not a personal thing, it's not a thing that, you know, I want to see all of these things there. It's actually for the Kenyan people. What does it mean if we open up another convention center or something like that in Mombasa? Well, Ministry of Tourism has worked heavily on the charter incentive program, where you've got charters coming into Mombasa. Again, why can those same charters or those same routes not be facilitating conferencing as well? Hotels will be full. So competing, no.
No, I mean, in the interest of time, we have to wrap it up. But not before I hear from you. I mean, you know, there are so many stories around KICC that, you know, there are zigzag, you know, ways or paths, you know, underground. There are nuclear bunkers, you know, that are there are penthouses here where, you know, the high and mighty can live. Do you live here, first of all? And are there nuclear bunkers?
Living here, I don't.
Oh, you don't have a penthouse up here?
No, that's a myth. That's a myth. You know, it's always, like I said, if it's about demystifying, but it's hilarious because I obviously get asked that question. You know, I'm like, so you live at KICC? I'm like, even if I had a chance to live here, I wouldn't. I work here. You know. Let's keep things separate. You know, I have 3 kids. I don't, you know, they come and I bring them here. You know, they love KICC. They you know, it doesn't get boring for any child. You know, so with that, but people living here, no. Once upon a time, we did have a tenant living in one of the rooms a very long time ago, but that was more of for an economical situation, unfortunately. But in terms of actual structured rooms, we don't have any. This is all office space and meeting rooms. Now, for the bunkers down below, you're not the first person who said that, and you know, I've never. I wish at times we did have a secret bunker so we could, you know, sneak out of instead of having to go down the main steps or anything like that when things are heated. But again, it's a myth. KICC is what you see is what you get. We have many rooms. And I think also because what happens is that you see, we do have an underground level. So our lower ground, and even below that, because we did used to have, it's still there, parking. But again, under a government directive, that was also scrapped. Some major, we are an iconic building, so in terms of for security, that was stopped in terms of that. So we're looking at utilizing that space long before I got here, but again, it was just for security purposes. So again, if you come in on the ground floor level and you go up and you do all of that, you're fine. But as soon as you go to the lower ground and the lower ground number 2, you'll get lost. And it does sort of look like zigzag tunnels and all of that. So I can see why people would probably think that because, yes, you do go for quite some far. We have a police station, fully operational here. People get arrested from around, you know, so with its own OCS. So, like I said, it's a city within the city.
Good.
With that, and it's amazing place to come and just people watch.
Thank you so much, Nana, for joining us here on Inside Government.
Thank you.
And all the best in your endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Nana Gecaga, the CEO of KICC, joining us here on Inside Government to help us in on what KICC is doing to further the business of business tourism. right here in Kenya and of course across East Africa, and you have heard it from her. My name is O'Brien Kim, and you have been watching Inside Government. We'll see you again next Thursday right here on KBC Channel 1. Until then, have yourself a good time ahead. Bye for now.